for 3 weeks and quit because she didn't like her coworkers. She has taken most of my savings, taken the time for my children to my husband, and used that time for herself, and has been extremely unappreciative for what I've done for her. I told her she needs to figure out a living plan because she's 18 and a legal adult, and that she needs to start adulting. She mentioned how she was in online school, and I told her that wasn't enough since there are more hours in the day and she can do more things than just be lazy and use her computer as an excuse. She told me that I'm jealous of her relationship with my husband, and I reminded her that she's living in her home rent-free. I told her she should be lucky that I treat her as my own because not everyone would do such for their stepchild. My husband thinks I'm wrong for saying this to her and that what I did was harsh, but I don't see how when she's 18 years old and she's grown. So am I the asshole?
I'm supposed to get married to my fiance in 2 days, and I don't know if I should call it off. I'll try to make this short while I cry of sadness. I've been dating this guy since June of 2022, and in September of that same year, he asked me to be his girlfriend, and this past April, he asked me to marry him. So we've been engaged since then, and he came to Hawaii with his mom and dad, and with my mom and dad, my sister, and best friend. 90% of the time, he's a calm person. He opens the door of the car for me, kisses me every morning and every night. He's a gentleman and a very loyal and honest person. The other 10%, when we fight, he insults me. Fake, know-it-all, psycho, piece of shit, you don't give a shit about me, this relationship is a joke, and etc.
Coffee
Yesterday
with
was our
Foxley.
first day in Hawaii, and in 2 different occasions, his behavior in front of everyone in the table was intense and out of line. He started yelling just because we disagreed that not all Italians hate Americans. I'm from South America, and so it's my family, and he's from the US, but we all currently live in the US. And then at some point, my sister's boyfriend was like, it's always greener on the other side. And he started getting very passionate and saying, nope, it's not always greener. You are mistaken. Anyway, the whole conversation in the table was uncomfortable because he was way too intense. Even his mom told him to calm down. Then we went to the car and I asked him nicely to please chill and that his attitude made me uncomfortable.
Can't
He
forget
started
her
yelling at me, saying
puppuccino.
I'm dramatic and overreacting because that's his personality. A couple of people from the resort asked me if I was okay after they saw the whole scene. Because by the way, he doesn't care about making scenes anywhere we are. He will yell and raise his voice whenever we are in public anytime we get into an argument. Anyways, that went away and he apologized to my sister's boyfriend and told him that's usually how he speaks to all of his friends. That is not an apology. After that, we were all at the beach, my part of the family and him, and his mom and dad were at the grocery store. We didn't check in our rooms yet because the room wasn't ready, but after hanging out at the beach for like an hour, he was ready to go, and I said, but your mom isn't here yet, we can chill a little longer. He got all stressed out and said he wanted to go to the room and started getting ready to go to Waikiki downtown and that everyone should do that. He was very pushy and also yelled again and got intense with the group and made us all leave and change so we can go to downtown. I told him when we were alone that he was being rude and pushy again and that he should apologize. After convincing him for a while that he was being rude out there, he texted my sister and her boyfriend again saying, sorry I was all intense. Every time during this time of the year when my birthday is coming, I get emotional because I remember my sister, and that's not an excuse, but I'm just not in the best place. By the way, he lost his sister 6 years ago. He was 23 and his sister was 10. This isn't the first time he yells and behaves incorrectly and uses his sister as the motive for it. Then we were in the car with my mom and he wanted to apologize to my mom too, and this is where shit got ugly. He apologized to my mom and says how he wishes his sister was here in these important moments and that he is sorry for everything from today. And then my mom says, okay, your apologies are accepted, but please don't use your sister as an excuse. Respect her memory. She also said the way she respects my dad's memory is by always trying to be happy around the people she loves, because she knows he wouldn't want to see her cry every day or yell at us or anything like that. So that's the way she deals with my father's death. Then my fiance said, you don't know anything about my sister or myself and I can get to feel however I want. Things kept getting heated and more yelling started happening and he started yelling very loudly. Don't talk about my sister, you don't know shit. Started giving my mom crazy eyes and pointing at her. Completely disrespected somebody that's in her 60s. Then my mom just left the car and after an hour of me trying to explain to my fiance that what he did was wrong, he said, okay, I will apologize to her. Then I call my mom and she's crying and she's like, I'm sorry, I don't want his apologies. This went too far. He also insulted me multiple times. I told my fiance, even if my mom was wrong, he could have just talked to her instead of started yelling and cursing at her. My wedding is supposed to be 2 days here in Hawaii, and my mom was supposed to give us the rings. This morning, she texted me saying that she loves me and that I can do whatever I decided to do, but she won't give me the rings and won't accept his apologies, and if I do marry him, she will stand there to support me. But after that, when we go back home, she won't be close to him and will try to avoid talking to him from now on because her perspective of him has changed completely. I truly don't know what to do. I need an outsider's perspective. Should I marry this man? She has a small update. She goes, update. I've left the room and I'm now with my mom and my sister.
Reorganizing
Oh,
my
what? Here's
junk
another
drawer.
update. I canceled the wedding. I apologized to my mom for letting him speak to her like that, even though I was telling him to stop. I could have been more serious about it. His mom understands my position and respects my decision. I'm really sad, but somehow I feel relief as well. I will try to enjoy the rest of this trip with my family and try to get past this. My mom is also relieved that I made this decision. My whole family is. This man needs therapy. He has a lot of grief that he needs to compartmentalize.
Storytime about falling into a dug-up grave. So a little background information. My dad was a teenager in the late 1950s, and he used to work at this restaurant that was near a local cemetery. Now, to get to work, he could either run through the cemetery or go around the cemetery. And more often than not, he would just go through the cemetery because nobody wants to add an extra 10 or 15 minutes to their walk, especially to work. Now, being 15 years old, going through the cemetery at night still low-key scared him. So the one night he got off of work and he was running home through the cemetery and he fell into a dug-up grave. And my dad was not a big guy, so he tried to get out of there as best as he could, but after a few hours, he just gave up. Now, I guess some other kid had the same exact idea that he did, so he hears footsteps quickly approaching the grave, and then all of a sudden, some kid falls into the dug-up grave with him. So after a few minutes of watching this kid try to get out of the grave as well, my dad goes, "You know you're never gonna get out of here, right?" My dad said this kid jumped up 6 feet and ran. Pretty funny story from my dad's point of view, but pretty scary for the other kid.
Am I the arsehole for telling my disabled sister that she won't be getting any inheritance? Story time! So I have 4 siblings, and my younger sister Amy is disabled. And because of this, my parents dedicated 100% of themselves to her, and they pretty much left the rest of us to fend for ourselves. Growing up, I was pretty much the main caregiver for all of my siblings because my parents were too busy with Amy. I would do all the chores, I would look after my siblings. And I should probably make it clear that Amy's disability does not stop her from doing anything. She's more than capable of doing everything herself. She doesn't require any extra care. She doesn't require 24 hours surveillance or anything like that. She is more than capable. But my parents have literally always spoiled her rotten, and she's so rude. So my grandparents passed away a fair few years ago now, and I inherited all of their money pretty much. I inherited about $6 million. The reason I received all of it and none of my other siblings did is because I was really the only one that gave a crap about them. My grandparents were very aware of how my parents treated us, so they didn't really talk to my mum. They very rarely spoke to her, so I got left it all. At this moment in time, I haven't spoken to my parents for over 6 years. But recently, Amy started college and she burnt out her whole college fund in 4 months. Apparently designer bags were just more important than rent. I'm very aware that this makeup is coming very grey and trying to fix it desperately. So for a little backstory and context, when my younger siblings started college, I helped with all of their college fees. I paid for pretty much everything, and my only sort of rule was that they did that. However, now that Amy is struggling, my parents ended up calling me out of nowhere, and they demanded that I gave Amy some of my inheritance money to help her out through college. I ended the call with my mum by telling her that Amy was the only kid that they had in their mind for 18 years. Now they have absolutely no right to demand things from the kids that they literally abandoned. And naturally, I'm getting shit from everyone. So here is some little bits of information that may help you form a bit of a better opinion. I have no clue what Amy's disability actually is. My parents never told us, or they never told Amy either. And then when I asked my mum why she couldn't get any sort of mental help or funding, she said it's because they don't have a written diagnosis anywhere for Amy. I always remember my parents fighting about how they need to take her to different doctors because other doctors refuse to give her a diagnosis. And I'm not gonna lie, through writing this, I'm starting to now think if my sister is actually disabled. My uncle also gave me a call the other day and told me that they were thinking about starting a pregnancy rumour that was pregnant so that I would have to pay them. And then when I said I wouldn't do that, they said that they were going to turn around and say that, well, I'm someone that likes to hurt babies. So should I end up helping my sister, or should I keep the money and keep putting it into my other siblings?
Today I fucked up by telling a Twitch streamer to Google something he shouldn't have. I don't know whether to be ashamed or proud of this moment, maybe both.
Okay, we'll tell you.
But basically,